going to make this real quick. I don't know why the video was cut, but how are prophets blinded by love? I used to be annoyed, and it's very hard to annoy me, but I used to be annoyed by the saying "love is blind" or "blinded by love" because I thought, that was so immature. But really, it was me that needed perspective on that because that term is probably bombarded on me by movies and commercialism and all that, but there are different kinds of love, right? So the prophet who has freed thousands of families with his prophetic calling and gift and did all this, hired a secretary who was a witch and he didn't know it. So the thing is, how was he blinded? It wasn't by the kind of love that you would normally suspect, maybe, oh, the secretary. No, it wasn't lust. It was a different kind of love. And so that's why we have to be cognizant of the wiles of the devil. He knows that you're guarded up against that. You have the Dr. Billy Graham practice. You don't let women in your office with the door closed, things like that. He knows you're guarded in your mind. You are theologically sound. You keep the word sound. So even if he comes at you with the misconstrued or lie of the word, that you can come back with him with the rightly divided word. He knows that your will is intact. Your will, you have the desire and the want to please the Lord, and it supersedes those attacks that come against you. I just named the three components of the soul, right? Mind, will, and emotions. Mind or intellect, will, and emotions. So the gateway to the mind, a major gateway, is the emotions, but there are different components or different, doorways within the realm of emotions. So if he can't get you through lust, he'll get you through friendliness. My motto is be friendly to all, friends with few, because not everybody deserves to have that kind of access to you. I didn't mean to rhyme. But anyway, the way this secretary who was a witch and I'm not saying that all people who are labeled witches or warlocks are just terrible people. They may have good hearts. They may be trying to reach out to Jesus through you. And so we don't want to just but this person was a self-professed witch and was not willing to renounce. And she had been planted there. And she went to him to resign, probably because some stuff was messing up. I don't know. That's not my point. My point is, how did he, being a seer, not see this so blatant? And how did he not see it, and not just enough to hire her, but to keep her so long? So what it is when you have people who are close to you, they're in your peripheral. And why? Because they're trust. You think of that thing called a trust fall. A trust fall is when you fall back, trusting the person to catch you without looking. That's the component of faith. Faith is believing without seeing. So that's healthy when you are believing in the right person or when you are believing the right fashion. But sometimes when we allow people in our circles, it brings in that component of trust. And with that trust, that means they're in their peripheral. They're not someone you're directly paying attention to. You can see results. There are always going to be symptoms. This is the solution. There are always signs. They always leave clues. The thing is, whether you in your will, mind, will, emotions, in your will, you can choose to ignore those clues or look into them. If they are, for instance, repeat offenders or repeat violators of rules, you don't just ignore them because you love them or because they do something. So in the case with the secretary and the prophet, it wasn't anything that was unhealthy. It wasn't anything ungodly. She was top notch in what she did for him. She provided a solution and it took the load off his shoulders. So he was willing to overlook the signs. Obviously, I'm sure there were some signs. There are always signs, but sometimes we overlook things with people who are closest to us or that we have developed a love or relationship for, and that's dangerous even for that person because they themselves are victims whether they know it or not. So that's all. How are prophets blinded? Through the gateway of emotions, because the gateway of emotions leads to the mind, and the mind is the playground of Satan. There is a man of God who says that Satan is the master of the sense realm. Satan is the master of the sense realm. Bright colors, eyes, people in your ear, friends, ears, any open gauge he will try to use anyway. That's why, at the Super Bowl, advertisements is $1 trillion industry. They know appealing to the senses, getting into your mind works. So if they cannot get you while you're awake, they try to get you while you're asleep, because whatever they put in your mind is going to work. And you don't know as a Christian that you can have your spirit fight for you while you're asleep. You think it's just about your body getting rest. So that's in part. He is all seeing. He is almighty, El Shaddai, multi-breasted, omniscient, omnipresent. I'm not everything. What's the other word? Omniscient, omnipresent. Are exclusive characteristics that only belong to him. That's so we rely on him. Yes, that's the obvious answer. But sometimes we forget, because if something is feeling so good to us, everything is going smoothly, so we think, then we don't think to appeal to him on that issue. Other places are well covered, top notch, because we know that we better not have that woman with her breast showing and stuff in our office. We know that we better spend more time with our children. We know these are obvious things that we have put systems of covering over, but then there are subtle areas, and that's what the devil looks for. He looks for the gaps. He looks for the subtle areas. Like, okay, well, she's good at what she does, so why not? What I mean, there's no problem here. Why would your mind think to look over here to need an extra covering? Every place needs a covering. That's why we need to be on retreat, to seek him. Lord, you see what I don't see. Please reveal to me areas in my life that are lacking you. Where is there an area that needs to be covered that I think is okay because I don't see anything wrong yet? So he can reveal them to us directly on our quiet, in our secret places, while we're on retreat. He can reveal it through people. But the challenge there is that the people are normally the conduits, right? Even believers can be conduits of witchcraft, even if they don't have the label witch. And so we ourselves also can be conduits of that which isn't true or aligns up with the word of God. When you think of the straight A student, always the good little boy, he always did a good job, and he grew up, got married, did all type of exploits for the family, and turned out to be an adulterer. I don't want to say he's adulterer, but he cheated. He took his best friend's wife, come on, and then killed him. I'm talking about David. We would never think that David, a man after God's own heart, could go that far. We don't know what's in us. We don't know what's in us. So it's not just about looking out. Oh, who's that? We got to be looking in too. So the system or standard that we set in place over every area of our life is not just to protect us from others, but it's to protect us from ourselves. Because the person that we do not see may be the person that's in us. So that's all I wanted to say. How are prophets blinded? Many times they're blinded. They don't see the people closest to them because they have a trust fall relationship with them. They felt whatever that person did to get in their circle initially, they feel that there's no need to monitor that person is who they say they are. That person may have changed and changing subtly, and you don't know it. And those subtle effects or they could be revealing who they were all along, like the witch and that prophet. That witch, he didn't even find out from seeing. She confessed to him. So the good thing about being a believer and trusting the Lord and seeking him and not relying on our own understanding, not relying on our own gifts, what's worked in the past, what it could even be working now, but in other areas, is always knowing that we are one Christ, yes, but we have a knowledge of him. We are seeking him and him alone at all times. And he will either reveal it, expose it, or show you through people. I love you. See you next time.